Ms. Stevens.
Ms. Kendler, are you aware of export control gaps around open source hardware as it pertains to semiconductors? Has that hit your desk yet, given the recent passage of the Chips and Science legislation?
When you say open source hardware, can you help me understand?
We're talking about CPUs and the design of chips, and particularly, and I know you're focused on export controls, so this is maybe a little bit more on the importing side. And it's okay if this hasn't hit your desk yet, but it has come up in conversation that open source development of chips, and particularly what CCP enterprises are producing might propose a national security threat. And if you haven't had a chance to review this yet, we'd love for you to talk to some of the companies on the design side and bring this to the Secretary of Commerce as we move forward with our very exciting implementation of the CHIPS legislation, which, as the Commerce Secretary has shared, will give the United States, by the year 2030, the very competitive advantage from soup to nuts of designing, producing, and shipping chips. So we have woken up to the United States great opportunity of being able to produce these complex semiconductors that we innovated here. On the electric vehicle front, coming from Michigan, we are also aware that the CCP, that China became the largest exporter of vehicles just this year, surpassing Germany. And as we're looking to produce and win this next phase of the race, the great moonshot of the 21st century, the proliferation of zero-emission vehicles, partly because where the world is moving, right, and where global demand is, can you speak, Ms. Kendler, can you speak to how the Biden administration has been working across departments and agencies to ensure a speedy and safe rollout of electric vehicles?
Thank you. I certainly share your concerns about safe rollout of electric vehicles. That's not necessarily something that is run out of BIS, but I'd be happy to take that back and get with your team to work.
We know that auto accidents are on the rise, and certainly here in the United States, and certainly the technology that we're developing, we want to make sure stays competitive to not only our original equipment manufacturers, but also to our suppliers. And we have so much admiration for the small but mighty role that the BIS plays. And just while I still have your time, and I know you weren't there during the last shutdown, but how would a government shutdown impact your agency and your agency's ability to do its work if we did happen to go into a government shutdown?
Sure, I was not at BIS for the last shutdown, you're right, but licensing applications will slow down, licensing officers will become less effective, less efficient. We need to maintain our high national security standards, so all of the work becomes more difficult while we still focus on what's required to do our job properly.
Does the CR impact you as well?
Yes, it would, yes.
Yeah, and the same for you, Mr. Critton.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and the same for you, Dr. Ratner.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so we obviously want to have responsible leadership and recognize that our side of Pennsylvania Avenue also plays a role in continuing to bolster the United States' competitive advantage as we look to our manufacturing prowess, our industrial policy capabilities, our tackling of the trade deficit, and we thank you so much for your time today and your great testimony. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Mr. Jimenez is recognized.